Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sunampem. Our top stories this week. His Majesty graces the opening ceremony of the Parliament. India's ban on sugar export not a major concern for Bhutan, says the Economic Affairs Minister. And Parasports introduced in special educational needs schools from this year. His Majesty the King graced the opening ceremony of the 7th session of the 3rd Parliament on Thursday. Their Royal Highnesses Princess Sonamdechin Wangchuk and Prince Jigalugen Wangchuk were also in attendance during the ceremony.
His Majesty was received in traditional tribal procession by the Prime Minister, the Speaker, the Chairperson of the National Council, the Opposition Leader, and other members of the Parliament. On behalf of the parliamentarians, the Speaker expressed gratitude to His Majesty for gracing the ceremony and for His Majesty's selfless and exemplary service for the country and people, especially during the pandemic. The Speaker also thanked His Majesty for initiating various Desung skilling and reskilling programs across the country to provide gainful employment to youth.
Debi Lotsunabero, Dumitsulu, Jamjungi Tole, Kido Shendajine, Nambekalo, Duchigi Lonabero, Tutsivi Gole, Dumi Sumjat Gelu, Mikungi Kido Namedegi, Misedeso, Ganawa, Lode, Sem Kinyam Junde du Sishuni. Delo Chisoki Hule, Miwa Chulo, Samgi Michabe, Kadiga Sopini, Sushunila.
The 7th session of the Parliament will deliberate on 3 disputed bills, including the Anti-Corruption Amendment Bill, CSO Amendment Bill, and United Nations Convention Against Corruption. There will also be deliberations on 5 money bills. They include the National Budget Appropriation Bill for the financial year 2022 to 2023, Supplementary Budget Appropriation Bill for the financial year 2021 to 2022, Fiscal Incentives Amendment Bill of Bhutan 2022, Goods and Services Tax Amendment Bill of Bhutan 2022, and Concession of Property Tax Bill of Bhutan 2022. For Karmawangdi, Samten Dolkar, BBS News.
Booster shots for children aged 5 to 11 years in the country are expected to roll out in about 2 to 3 months. This comes after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the emergency use of the Pfizer pediatric vaccines for children in this age group.
According to the Health Ministry, there are more than 83,200 children aged between 5 and 11 years. More than 97% of the children in this age group have received 2 doses of the Pfizer pediatric vaccine. The first dose was given out in March, while the campaign for the second dose was carried out after a month in April. The Health Ministry's senior program officer said the tentative dates for the third dose or the booster shots is August or September.
The Ministry of Health will put up this recommendation with the national experts. We have National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, and we will be discussing on those recommendations as well.
He added studies have shown that these vaccines have shown a strong immune response in the children. The ministry is also trying to procure the vaccines.
We are also exploring through the support from Gavi COVAX facility, which they have actually already agreed to supply approximately 33,600 doses of Pfizer pediatric doses, which we can use as a booster as well. And also we are also exploring additional support from COVAX as well as bilateral development partners. Some countries have already expressed their interest to donate Pfizer vaccine, pediatric Pfizer vaccine to Bhutan.
He said although the US FDA has recommended an interval of at least 5 months, they will also be taking into consideration the decisions that other countries make. The final decision will be made following approval from the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group. Shoni Dama for BBS News.
There is a need for men and boys to take the lead in breaking social taboos and myths concerning menstruation. This is according to the Red Dot Bhutan campaign. The country joined the global community to mark the Menstrual Hygiene Day on 28th May. The patron of the Red Dot Bhutan, Her Royal Highness Princess Yuphelma Choden Wangchuk, graced the event in Thimphu.
Under the patronage of Her Royal Highness, the Red Dot Bhutan encouraged more participation of men to speak openly about menstruation and empower girls and women to practice good menstrual hygiene. Her Royal Highness also awarded certificates of appreciation to men who have supported the Red Dot Bhutan in strengthening awareness on menstrual health and hygiene.
Some study shows that children, they are not sent to the schools during the time of menstruation, missing their classes, missing their learning. So we like to urge our parents and the guardians to send your children or your daughter to the schools during the time of menstruation. It's nothing abnormal.
He added there is still a lack of support from the male community when it comes to normalizing menstruation.
Often we get here that men are not really supportive about it, and we women, they themselves, they understand the pain that they go through, the situation, the odd situation that they go through.
Red Dot Bhutan also committed to support wash or water, sanitation and hygiene facilities for girls and women with disabilities in the country. Red Dot Bhutan is a campaign to raise awareness on issues relating to menstrual hygiene and address challenges related to menstruation. Chonidama for BBS News.
India's decision to stop the export of sugar will not be a major concern for Bhutan, at least for now. The Economic Affairs Minister says major sugar-consuming factories have already been directed to stock up. And the Food Corporation of Bhutan says it has enough sugar for general public to last more than a month.
The sugar export ban will continue until October 31st. According to Indian media, the ban was initiated to stabilize the price in the domestic market. Bhutan has been importing about 10,000 metric tons of sugar every year from India. This is equivalent to 1,000 truckloads a year. The major chunk is used by the food and beverage factories. Only about 100 truckloads is used by the general public. The Food Corporation of Bhutan has 150 metric tons of sugar in stock and is importing additional 150 metric tons soon. The agreement between the importers like ECCD and private supplier and exporter will also be drawn to import sugar. And if the agreement serves as an instrument, the ECCD says people shouldn't be worried.
Our industries must be able to stock up their raw materials like sugar for a few months. We have already called some of the big industries to do that. I even talked with CEO of Big Cola. I even talked with Zimbra Food and all those things. And I also asked Department of Industry as well as DCSI to communicate with them to store for some time.
According to the minister, the foreign minister has also communicated with the Indian government regarding the annual requirements. He said the Indian government will take it positively as the requirement is not so high. The government will also try to explore sugar imports from other countries such as Bangladesh and Thailand. While the big factories have started to stock up, they are equally concerned about the ban.
We somehow stocked 4 truckloads of sugar, which will be enough only for over a month of production. Once it is finished, I'm not sure how production will go on.
In our food industry, every day we require the 7 to 8 ton sugar to produce our production, per day production. So obviously it will hamper our production.
At least notice should have been given to us at least 15 days, 20 days or 1 month earlier. Just giving notice 1 week is very difficult for industries to plan the thing.
Similarly, Big Cola, a beverage company in Chanchi, says they have started stocking up. However, it is only to last for the next 10 days. After that, the company said the operation might possibly stop if they can't get more sugar. Meanwhile, the Economic Affairs Minister said for long run, Bhutan should look at the economic viability of starting a sugar plant or sugar mill in the country. With additional information from Sonampenjor and Phinsoling, Sam Tendolkar, BBS News.
Works are underway to extend the Bumthang domestic airport's runway, which will allow planes to carry more passengers once works are complete. An international standard air terminal is also nearing completion. The Department of Air Transport says almost all facilities are being readied to start international flights from Bumthang in the near future.
The current runway, which is only 1,200 meters long, is being extended by half a kilometer. Works began in April this year and are expected to be complete by this October. This is done to enhance the carrying capacity of the planes.
Our ATR aircraft has 40 seats, but it can carry only 18 passengers due to heat and humidity, especially during summer. With the expansion, it will now be able to carry additional 15 to 18 passengers. Moreover, a bigger runway will also add to safety of our planes.
The airfield will also be resurfaced. The government-funded runway extension and resurfacing project is carried out with a budget of 240 million Newton. Once complete, the airlines will be able to start regional flights.
In case, say the airline plans to run, operate international sectors from Kathmandu to Pumta, or Calcutta to Pumta, Bangladesh to Pumta, Guwahati to Pumta. So keeping that in mind, we have made provision to convert that terminal building into an international terminal.
The terminal, which was built at a cost of close to 160 million Newton through Asian Development Bank's grant, is nearing completion. The project's completion was affected by harsh winter months, where concrete works are restricted in Bumthang. The Department of Air Transport says the government only needs to set up immigration, customs and BAFRA offices before the airport is open to international flights. However, the airport won't still be able to take in Airbuses even after the expansion, as studies found technical shortcomings due to narrow landscape. Meanwhile, the DOAT says they can start the service as early as next year if the government instructs them to do so. For Kipchu in Bumta, this is Angishizom for BBS News.
The country is expected to have a wet summer this year. According to the National Center for Hydrology and Meteorology, there will be slightly above normal rainfall this monsoon. The center is advising the public to be cautious during the coming months of June, July, August and September.
Based on 20 Class A stations, so we compared...
The National Center for Hydrology and Meteorology presented their findings to officials from various stakeholders during the 8th National Climate Outlook Forum in Punakha. According to the center, normal rainfall and temperature have been determined based on data from 1996 to 2021. The NCHM has predicted that rainfall could be slightly higher than the average rainfall of around 1,276 millimeters during the 4 months.
June, July, August, September.
The weather forecast report shows that rainfall will be slightly above normal during the summer in June, July, August and September. So the chances of landslides, flash flood and road slides will be high at this time.
Mosquito problems are also likely to increase, especially in southern regions due to the increase in temperature.
The temperature will also increase slightly above normal in June, July, August and September. So there will be some chances of triggering pest issues and drying up water if temperature increases comparatively.
Meanwhile, the Panisamba College of Astrology recommends performing Kurim to minimize the risks.
Bhutanese astrology also predicts that rainfall will be slightly high this year. However, if we perform Kurims and other religious activities, we may be able to avoid disasters.
The center prepared the forecast with inputs from global and regional prediction centers and national climate data. For Chiangadoji in Punakha, Isha Gelton, BBS News.
The Thimphu District Court acquitted Penjor, a private individual, of the defamation charges filed by the police. The court passed the judgment on 30th May. He was on trial at the district court accused of defaming the office of the Attorney General through his Facebook post last year.
As per the judgment, Penjor's Facebook post was not false. Moreover, the judgment states that the post shared was of public interest and he had exercised his freedom of speech. Meanwhile, Penjor, during his rebuttal, had submitted that he should get compensation for the arrest and detention for 16 days in May last year, but the court denied the compensation. According to the judgment, an individual can be detained for investigation as per the Civil and Criminal Procedure Code of Bhutan. Penjor, while sharing a BBS News article on the conviction and termination of 12 employees of Bhutan National Bank for forgery, wrote about the OEG. He wrote against the office for dropping the probable charges of official misconduct and failure to report the crime against the BNBL's top executive members who were involved in the recruitment. He wrote that it was a shocking bigger crime where OEG and BNBL's officials colluded and dropped the probable charges forwarded by the police. The case, which was registered as a sedition case, was dismissed by the district court. The OAG then forwarded a defamation case against Penjor to the police since it is a petty misdemeanor. The case was registered with the Thimphu District Court in November last year. Gilitim for BBS News.
Residents of Bumthang and nearby areas in Samdrup were excited to learn that they would have a new ECCD center. The construction works began in 2019 and was supposed to be complete by 2020. However, the structure remains unfinished even today due to the pandemic.
Today, the incomplete structure has become a shelter for stray dogs. About 90% of the construction works were completed. According to the contractor, the pandemic delayed the work progress. Despite being given time extension 3 times, the contractor failed to complete the work. Works were supposed to be complete by 4th of this month. However, with no workers at the site, the Samdrup Thomde terminated the contract recently. The Thomde is currently working on the way forward to complete the structure. In the meantime, until the new structure is complete, a staff quarter at the Dewathang Primary School will continue to serve as the Early Childhood Care and Development or ECCD Center. But the center does not have proper water supply.
I don't have a car and my child finds it difficult to walk as the center is far from my area.
We don't know what is happening as we see them working only sometimes. It has been about 2.5 years now and it is still not completed.
For the moment, children here will have to continue their learning from this temporary center until the new building is ready. For Kilewanchu in Samdrup Jonkar, Sringzam, BBS News.
Calling your pet dogs Chanchi in anger is common among Bhutanese dog owners. It literally means stray dog. Chanchi is believed to be native to Bhutan and an initiative is underway in Yusupan Thimphu to conserve this breed.
The team from Chanchi Conservation Farm caught 20 female dogs and 8 male dogs suspected to be of the local breed from the west and central regions in the country. The districts include Paro, Thimphu, Ondi, Punakha, Tonsa and Bumthang among others. The dogs are, however, not brought from the bordering districts so as to avoid an outbreak of rabies.
We will find out how close they are to our jobchis, how close they are to our dogs which are imported from abroad. After that, we'll choose only those dogs which are not actually related to those pedigree dogs, and those dogs we will maintain.
While there are many breeds of dogs in the country, he said the Chanchi breed will be identified based on its unique characteristics.
We are looking for a dog which are with a broad muzzles. What I heard from the old generation, they said in the 50s, 60s that Chanchi's free roaming dogs in Bhutan are all with erect ear. Maybe as the time went by, I think they crossed with Jobchis, so it had a drooping ear.
For now, the project aims to collect as many dogs as possible and do genetic studies in collaboration with the National Biodiversity Center. The dog farm is expected to look something like this. As per the project, the dog farm is mainly initiated for rural people for whom the dogs make a great livestock guardian.
If anybody wants a dog, I think we should be in position to supply to that, provided that dog is not let it be, not like a stray. It should be put in somebody's, whoever takes, it should be registered in his name, microchipped, and main thing is it has to be sterilized before taking, so that it will not breed unnecessarily.
The construction of the dog farm is expected to complete in 8 months. It will be constructed on around an acre of land with a budget estimation of more than 13.5 million itam. Meanwhile, the nationwide program to manage the dog population has so far sterilized more than 39,000 free-roaming dogs since it began in March. Samtan Dolkar, BBS News.
Studies have proven that sports play a vital role in keeping one physically and mentally healthy. And more so, it has been found important for people living with disabilities. However, access to sports is one of the challenges for them. But this is expected to change. The Bhutan Paralympic Committee, the national sports body for athletes with disabilities, has started introducing Parasports in special educational needs or SEN schools from this year. Dumpo Middle Secondary School in Sirang is one of the 6 SEN schools that has introduced Parasports for their students. For now, the students can play 5 different sports. One of the Parasports is a ball game called Bocha. The sport was first developed in Greece and is designed for competitors who have a physical disability requiring the use of a wheelchair. Similarly, the students can also play goal ball, sitting volleyball, para-badminton and blind football. These sports intend to keep them fit and improve their mental well-being and intellectual development.
Especially for young people with disabilities, they have problem with moving their limbs. So basic fundamental movements like throwing, catching will definitely help them in future, at least for those who cannot move at all. If they are trained or if they are given this opportunity to move and develop the fundamental movement in the school, it will help them grow as an adult.
The committee also trained a few SEN teachers to keep the Parasports culture alive in the schools. The committee had initially tried to introduce Parasports in SEN schools a few years back but failed due to lack of trained teachers. The introduction of Parasports in SEN schools is expected to make every child with disability enjoy the benefits of sports.
The Parasports introduced to our students will help them bond with one another and develop team spirit. So, these kinds of sports for children with disabilities will contribute much in transforming their lives.
Doctors told me that my son's movement difficulty is due to energy deficiency in him. The prolonged illness is affecting him severely. I hope these sports will help him improve his health.
I enjoyed my Parasports.
The committee plans to introduce Parasports in all SEN schools in the future. As of today, there are 18 SEN schools across the country. For Pema Seong in Sirang, Sonam Pem for BBS News. That's all we have for you this week. Thank you for joining us.